Well, let's go straight to the news. Joining me is wordsmith and all-round gentleman Kel Richards. Kel, thanks for being with me. These Newspoll results, are you surprised?
Well, you said it yourself. No one should be surprised by this. There's an old saying in polling, the trend is your friend. And the trend has been consistent and has been going this way for a long time now. And you can analyse the reasons. You can talk about why it's the case. It has been a more expensive Christmas for a whole lot of people. Whole leg of hams were not available because people couldn't afford anything more than half a leg of ham. Lots of little indicators that everyone is feeling the pinch. It's really tough for everyone. And it's Albanese's fault, or it's his government's fault. I don't know that it's personally his fault because he doesn't appear to have a lot of control over his government. The ministers seem to do whatever they want. Whatever's on their mind is what they decide to do. But you have a look at a government which has flooded the market with money. The International Monetary Fund has now said, yes, we agree with the RBA. That's dangerous. That pushes up inflation. More money chasing the same goods and services. Prices go up. That's called inflation. That's what the Albanese government has given us. And Chris Bowen has worked very hard at this. He deserves credit because if power prices go up, everything goes up. Everyone who uses power, warehouses, factories, shops, they all have to put their prices on and pass on the increase in power. That's what's happened. Now, when that happens, we really are worse off. Now, Donald Trump said repeatedly in the election campaign, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? If Dutton takes that line and says, are you better off now than you were 3 years ago, there will be just people say, of course we're not. Of course we're not.
Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely a winning line.
That's what the polls are telling us.
So you mentioned inflation, and of course that's meant that the RBA has had to keep interest rates high, which you also mentioned the IMF have said, of course they do. It's interesting this news poll shows that the big fall for support for Albanese is amongst that 35 to 49-year-old cohort. They, of course, are people with mortgages. Now, Albanese's done things like, free childcare, pretty much for everybody. I think, what's the threshold? $500,000.
Yes,
so
yes,
most people will be getting that. Is that enough, do you think, to persuade mortgage holders, that middle Australia? Do you think Albanese can turn it around before an election, which is due by May next year? It's going to come fast.
I can't see how he can turn it around. That childcare move is not good news for anyone. Because as long as you increase childcare subsidies and make it more widely available, not means tested, but as long as you increase them, in the end, the companies running childcare centres, and they are businesses, put up their prices. There ends up being no benefit. I mean, there is a simple way out of the childcare mess, which the Albanese government can't think of, and I wouldn't be surprised if Peter Dutton does. You pay childcare subsidies to parents. And then one parent might decide to stay home and raise their own child, or they can use that money to subsidise their childcare. But you pay it to the parent. Once you're paying it to companies, it's a dead loss. It actually doesn't help anyone, and it doesn't create any additional places. Paying it to parents will create additional places because there'll be some parents who'll stay home and look after the kids. Bingo, more places in the current childcare centres. So there are things that could be done, but Anthony Albanese has displayed this remarkable, it's almost astonishing inability to read the room, know where people are, know what people are worried about.